Alright, so today's video is just me fighting a Garmur and a Punisher in a a slightly modified Hookbill fit that I'm running. Um, Depending on how successful this is, I'm going to do another video similar to the previous Hookbill fitting discussion, and try to do I'll try to do it quicker this time. Hopefully not like a full half-hour video, but it's something to just talk to. As I've been doing these videos, I've kind of realized I've been learning some lessons myself and have been trying to apply those, which is why I got the kills, or how I managed to get the kills in today's video. So without further ado, here we go. I was in Valil, I jumped into Aldernat, and I'm looking for something to kill with this new bill. I see that there are a couple of hostels in local, and I saw that there was a Garmur on scan, 14.3, 360. So I'm checking around, trying to find where the target is, and I'm having a lot of trouble just because I think he was moving as I was looking for him. So I give up kind of here. I see, there's a Garmur, but maybe there's something else on scan to fight. So I warped to the novice facility just to check it out before I move on. And as I land at the facility, I still see there's nothing on long from here. But it turns out that the Garmur was just in warp to the novice at the same time I was, and you see him landing right here. Now, I watch him land, boom, right there. He is at, oh, hold on, there we go. He is at 20, he is 20 kilometers away from me, which means he's very close to me. Garmurs are typically kiting platforms with light missile fit, micro warp drive, and a long point. The Garmur hull is bonused to, at the very least, point range. So a Garmur with an a faction warp disruptor can point you out to maybe like 54 kilometers easily. So he made a mistake actually by warping to within 20 of this acceleration gate because he's a little too close to me right now. I make the split second decision here as he lands to burn straight at him. You can kind of see I'm already like trying to heat my prop. I've got the scram heated, and so I double click to burn at him and immediately heat my prop towards him. Lock him up, catch him with the web right there. This is as his Punisher friend, they're both Eve Uni. This is as his Punisher friend is landing right behind me. But I'm already burning straight at the Garmur. I catch him with the web, hit him with the scram, and my rockets here. I turn the micro warp drive off because, as I mentioned before, this is going to be a dual prop fit, and there's no reason for me to keep a micro warp drive running. And you can't run both prop mods at once. So I turn that off, and I start trying to. I get close to the Garmur, and this is where I need to. After I've caught my target, I need to whittle him down and manage my modules. So right now I'm actually wasting some heat cycles on the scram, the web. I really need to turn those off. But the volley damage from the Garmur there that ate through my shields startled me a little bit. So that's why I've turned my attention to repping shields. I think I unheat the scram and the web here. Yeah, there they go. And I haven't turned my prop on yet. There I go with that. Now, so now I've established kind of an orbit around the Garmur, and I'm sort of managing my tank. Now I'm also looking at the Punisher and seeing he's still a ways away, and he's only moving at me at maybe 700 meters a second or so. So it's going to take him a while to get to me. So I'm focusing on the Garmur here more so, and trying to manage my own tank. Here I actually let myself bleed a little bit because I figure this is gonna be a long fight, and I want to keep them both interested. But I'm already in structure. I bled a little too much, which is because I don't notice this until a little later. But the Punisher is actually a beam laser fit, Punisher, he's hitting me with beam lasers. Beam lasers are the long range variant of the laser weapons as opposed to pulse lasers. So he's got some long range crystals in, and he's hitting me from where he's at. So they're both effectively hitting me. The Garmur's chunking me with alpha damage from the missiles, and now this Punisher's chipping away at me too. So I activate both of my reppers and I keep up the orbit around the Garmur. The Garmur's already down, just like that. So now I turn my attention to the Punisher. This is still before I'd noticed that he had beam lasers. I thought that all the damage I had been receiving was from the Garmur. So part of the principle behind the dual prop Hookbill is that on turret ships that rely on being close to targets, I am with a prop mod. This kind of goes back to the video where I talk about range control. With a prop mod and a web, I can more effectively hold range against targets than I can with a dual web configuration. So what I want to do here, initially what I wanted to do here was to sit at range from the Punisher, just, scram kite him. So hold him at 8 kilometers or so, where he's within scram range, but I'm still at a very long, I'm still a long ways away from his guns. So with that in mind, I think he has close range weapons initially. That was my thought. So with that in mind, I lock him up and I set my orbit to 7,500 meters. So I get in, scram him. Well, I don't actually scram him. I web him, I scram him, I unweb him for whatever reason. I'm just kind of like feeling the adrenaline rush right now. He finally scrams me. Uh, and this, I think, because I see I'm still taking damage here, this is when I notice that he's beam fit. So I actually, yeah, I think it's when I'm running both of the reppers. I actually notice that roughly around here, you'll see right there, I start double clicking to spiral in at him, and I actually heat my afterburner right here to get me in closer faster. It really doesn't matter at this point because he's already almost dead, but it's a it's one way to sort of mitigate damage. I wasn't watching his hit points. This was kind of going back to the Garmur again. I'm less concerned about how fast I'm killing them and more concerned about establishing, kind of getting solid footing in the fight. So I noticed he was hitting me with beam lasers here at the end of the fight, so I moved to counteract that because I thought at a glance that he was a brick tanked Punisher, and the fight would have taken a lot longer than it did. As we can see, it didn't, but my moving there would have taken care of that anyways. So that's the Garmur versus a Hookbill and a Punisher. I'm gonna go back and let the fight play through. Just find where I started this. I think it's here. Okay, we're just gonna skip ahead a little more, a little more. There we go. Okay, I'll just let it play through from here. So the dual prop is something I'm working on. It has lower DPS and lower buffer tank, so it's a little flimsier and a little weaker. But the trade-off, the ability to use an afterburner is huge, and I'll talk to that in the next video, the fitting discussion I do. So here we go. I land, Garmur points me up, I burn straight at him and catch him with a web, scram, rockets, switch over to afterburner at some point here. Punisher's burning kind of at me. You can see somewhere in there. I guess he hasn't started firing at me yet. Yeah. There's the initial blow, a glancing blow, and then a smashing one. So he starts chipping away at me. I definitely got lower in structure than I wanted to in this fight, but again, the alpha damage from the Garmur kind of startled me a little bit. Uh, I don't normally fight missile ships. I fight a lot of people like to fly brawling ships in faction warfare, so you usually run into those. So here's me orbiting the Punisher. He's hitting me with a bunch of grazing shots, which, they're grazing shots, but they still kind of suck. That's kind of why I decided to spiral in, but he's already in low armor here, even though he was, I think, plated. Uh, I'll link the kill mails in the video description just to so you guys can flip through them. And there goes the Punisher. So it was a pretty solid 2v1. I really like these kinds of fights, especially the ones where my ship is all burnt up and trashed by the end of it. It's, it's really, really enjoyable and really amusing. So, uh, hopefully you enjoyed the I enjoyed watching the fight. Hopefully you noticed something new, learned something. Have a good one.